Hello and welcome to iHasArt. My name is Hannah and today we're going to learn about pastel dusting. You're going to need your basics. That includes a hard pencil, something like a 2H or a 4H. You will need a white gel pen, your usual inking tools. I use a brush pen and fine liner. I'm also going to be using my watercolor pencils this week. A tea-stained piece of watercolor paper. This I shall show you how to do in another tutorial. It's pretty fun and has a really nice texture to it. And finally, you're going to need an old paintbrush, some chalk pastels, and a piece of sandpaper. First things first, get yourself a good pencil drawing done. And I've used tracing paper to transfer an image from my sketchbook onto the tea-stained paper. It's very important to have clean lines while doing this because you want to know exactly what you're doing and where the pigment is going. I'm also using a fixative. You can use whatever fixative you want, but I'm using Bog-Handed's hairspray. It has worked for me for years. I'm probably not going to change for a long time. The fixative will hold your graphite or powder into place. Put that paper to the side and grab your pastels and sandpaper. You will need an old paintbrush. I say old because you are going to be getting your brush in contact with that sandpaper a lot and that will ruin the fibers of your brush. Using the chalk, rub it on the sandpaper and you will create a dust. Using your old paintbrush, you will put that dust onto your page, working light to dark and slowly building up to create your image. At times you will need to blow away excess on your paper. Please turn away while you do that from the rest of the sandpaper, otherwise you will make a mess like I did. So working from light to dark, you will slowly build up the layers and the pigment. You can bring in other colors, although don't get too crazy. For example, even though this is primarily blue, I'm also using greens and purples to build up depth. Don't forget to spray the fixative from time to time. This will help create new layers and keep everything in place, and it also helps deepen the pigment for a while as well. At this point it looks like a right mess. Don't worry, stay with it. I have a personal mantra which is it's always going to look crap before it gets better, and so far it's kept me going on pieces that I would otherwise give up on. Next you're going to grab your watercolor pencils. I am using a white pencil to start off with to create a glow around the moon. It doesn't look like much yet, but keep watching and you'll see it will make an impact later on. I'm using the watercolor pencils to create more detail where it's lost. As you can see, it is a bit of a mess, but these watercolor pencils will help. And I can use my koi brush to blend them out where necessary. You don't have to use a koi brush, you can just use a regular paintbrush and water. I actually add a little bit too much black here. I did not expect it to get as out of hand as it did, but I managed to resolve the situation by pulling that pigment into other areas and it reduced the impact, and I think I managed to rescue it quite well. Next I'm going to grab my brush pen and I'm going to just ink the outlines. You don't have to do this, but I personally do. I think it gives a nice illustrative quality. I use a fine liner for the background to keep the lines thin and push the background back and draw attention to the thicker lines in the foreground. Next is the white ink, and as you remember I put the glow on the moon. This is when you're going to really see the moon pop and become a true light source to the image. I've had a light source in mind all the way through, but now it really shows, and I'm going to use the white ink to further impact that light source throughout the image where it bounces off the character, and that's when the white outline comes into play. I use the gel pen to back this up and make it a bit more vibrant. Never forget to sign your artwork, always be proud of what you do. And here is the finished product. I've done a handful of others like this, and they use different colors and slightly different ways of doing it. All using the tea stain paper, and as you can see with the fish, it actually is really cool when you see the tea stain paper come through. With the large moon, it actually looks like moon craters, so it came out really nicely. If you like the artwork and want to see more, please be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video if you like what you saw, and also leave a comment letting me know if you plan to try this out or if you have in the past, and what your results were. That's it for me for this Monday. Take care everyone, and I shall see you next week.